This is a special episode because for the first time, someone is sitting next to me rather than across from me.
Oh
man.
Upset.
Now I feel lonely. But whatever. Should we go with the traditional you start?
Is that how we've been doing it?
Yeah.
You're switching it up today, right?
No, man. I that's too much for me.
I'm sitting on this
maybe
side.
Maybe I can just pretend I'm Asa now.
Yeah, we should do that. You have to be lore master. You have to be lore master, and you have to mispronounce every other word.
I have to be lore master, and I have to have these long pauses.
I wasn't aware that I talked like a middle-aged Brooklyn stockbroker.
What do you mean? I don't.
Okay, just start reading, man. Come on.
All right, but the Teleri remains still in middle.
That's not what I have. Oh. We read all the way to that. Yeah. All right.
But the Teleri still remained in Middle Earth, for they dwelt in East Beleriand, far from the sea, and they heard not the summons of Ulmo until too late. And many searched still for Elwë their lord, who is presently, busy with some star ladies. And without him, they were unwilling to depart. But when they learned that Ingwe and Fingwe and their people were gone, then many of the Teleri pressed on to the shores of Beleriand, and dwelt thereafter near the mouths of Sirion, in the longing for their friends that had departed. And they took Olwe, Elwë's brother, to be their king. Long they remained by the coasts of the western sea, and Ose and Union came to them and befriended them. And Ose instructed them, sitting upon a rock near to the margin of the land, and of him they learned all manner of sea lore and sea music. Thus it came to be that the Teleri, who were from the beginning lovers of water, and the fairest singers of all the elves, were after enamored of the seas, and their songs were filled with the sound of waves upon the shore. When many years had passed, Ulmo hearkened to the prayers of the Noldor and Finwë their king, who grieved at their long sundering from the Teleri, and besought him to bring them to Aman if they would come. And most of them proved now willing indeed. But great was the grief of Ose when Ulmo returned to the coast of Beleriand to bear them away to Valinor. For his care was from the seas of Middle-earth and the shores of the Hitherlands, and was ill pleased that the voices of the Teleri should be heard no more in his domain. Some he had persuaded to remain, and those were the Falmarin, the Falathrim, and the elves of the Falas, who in after days had dwelt at the heavens of Brithombar and Eglarist, the first mariners of Middle-earth, and the first makers of ships. Círdan, the shipwright.
Círdan.
What?
Círdan.
That's what I said, Círdan.
Okay. All right.
The shipwright was their lord. The kinsfolk and friends.
Well, actually, the interesting thing about this is there's a lot of these characters that are in the Lord of the Rings, including Galadriel and Círdan the shipwright. So they're really old.
Yeah.
They've been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The kinsfolk and friends of Elwë Singolo also remained in the Hitherlands, seeking him yet, though they would fain have departed to Valinor and the light of the trees, if Ulmo and Olwe had been willing to tarry longer. But Olwe would be gone, and at last the main hosted Teleri embarked upon the isle, and Ulmo drew them far away. Then the friends of Elwë were left behind, and they called themselves Eglath, the Forsaken People. They dwelt in the woods and hills of Beleriand, rather than by the sea, which filled them with sorrow. But the desire of Aman was ever in their hearts. But when Elwë awoke from his long trance and came forth from the Nan-Elmuth with Melian, I'm messing it up today, Melian, and
Melker.
No.
And they dwelt thereafter in the woods in the midst of the land. Greatly, though he had desired to see again the light of the trees, in the face of Melian he beheld the light of Aman as in an unclouded mirror, and in that light he was content. His people gathered about him in joy, and they were amazed, for fair and noble as he had been, now he appeared as it were a lord of the Maiar, his hair as grey silver, tallest of the children of Iluvatar, and a high doom was before him.
Alright, I'll pick up.
Okay.
Now Ulse followed after the host of Olwe, and when they were come to the Bay of Eldamar, which is Elvenhome, obviously, he called to them. But they knew his voice, and begged Ulmo to stay their voyage, and Ulmo granted their request, and at his bidding Ulse made fast the island and rooted it to the foundations of the sea. Ulmo did this the more readily, for he understood the hearts of the Teleri, and in the council of the Valar he had spoken against the summons, thinking that it were better for the Quendi to remain in Middle-earth. The Valar were pleased to learn what he had done, and Finwë, or were little pleased to learn what he had done. That's a little bit of a change. And Finwë grieved when the Teleri came not, and yet more when he learned that Elwë was forsaken, and he knew that he should not see him again unless it were in the halls of Mandos. But the island was not moved again, and stood there alone in the Bay of Eldamar, and it was called Tol Eressëa, the Lonely Isle. There the Teleri abode as they wished under the stars of heaven, and yet within sight of Aman and the deathless shore, and by that long sojourn, apart in the Lonely Isle, was caused the sundering of their speech from that of the Vanyar and the Noldor. To these the Valar had given a land and a dwelling place, even among the radiant flowers of the tree-lit gardens of Valinor. They longed still at times to see the stars, and therefore a gap was made in the great walls of the Pelori, and there in a deep valley that ran down to the sea, the Eldar raised a high green hill, Tuna it was called. From the west the light of the trees fell upon it, and its shadow lay ever eastward, and to the east it looked towards the Bay of Elvenhome, and the Lonely Isle, and the shadowy seas. Then, through the Calasyria, the Pass of Light.
What, Calasyria, you say? I thought that... Yeah.
I don't know. I still speak English. The Pass of Light. The radiance of the blessed realm streamed forth, kindling the dark waves to silver and gold, and it touched the Lonely Isle, and its western shore grew green and fair. There bloomed the first flowers that ever were east of the mountains of Aman. Upon the crown of Tuna, the city of... I keep thinking of the fish when I say that, and it's really disorienting. Upon the crown of Tuna, the city of the elves was built, the white walls and terraces of Tirion, and the highest of the towers of that city was the Tower of Ingwe, Mindon Ildaleva, whose silver lamp shone far into the mists of the sea. Few are the ships of mortal men that have seen its slender beam. In Tirion upon Tuna, the Vanyar and the Noldor dwelt long in fellowship. And since, of all the things in Valinor, they loved most the white tree, Yavanna made for them a tree like to a lesser image of Telperion, save that it did not give light of its own being. Galathilion it was named, in the Sindarin tongue. The tree was planted in the courts beneath the Mindon, and there flourished. And its seedlings were many in Eldamar. Of those, one was afterwards planted in Tol Eressëa, and it prospered there, and is named Celeborn. Thence came, in the fullness of time, as is elsewhere told, Nimloth, the white tree of Numenor. Manwë and Varda loved most the Vanyar, the fair elves, but the Noldor were beloved of Aule, and he and his people came often among them. Great became their knowledge and their skill, yet even greater was their thirst for more knowledge, and in many things they soon surpassed their teachers. They were changeful in speech, for they had a great love of words, and sought ever to find names more fit for all things that they knew or imagined. And it came to pass that the masons of the house of Finwë, quarrying in the hills after stone, for they delighted in the building of high towers, first discovered the earth gems, and brought them forth in countless myriads. And they devised tools for the cutting and the shaping of gems, and carved them in many forms. They hoarded them not, but gave them freely, and by their labor enriched all Valinor. The Noldor afterwards came back to Middle-earth, and this tale tells mostly of their deeds. Therefore the names and kinship of their princes may here be told, in that form which these names later bore in the tongue of the elves of Beleriand. I guess you can pick up there.
If you want to read more about white trees, check out The Lord of the Rings. Finwë was king of the Noldor. The sons of Finwë were Fëanor, Fingolfin, and Finarfin. But the mother of Fëanor was Miriel, Serinde, whereas the mother of Fingolfin and Finarfin was Indis of the Vinar. Dirty chauvinist. Fëanor was the mightiest in the skill of word and of hand, more learned than his brothers. His spirit burned as a flame. Fingolfin was the strongest, the most steadfast, and the most valiant. Finarfin was the fairest and the most wise of heart. And afterwards he was a friend of the sons of Olwë, lord of the Teleri, and had to wife Eärwen, the Swan Maiden.
I think it would be Irwin. I'm not sure.
You know, that's how diareses are pronounced.
Well, yeah. If you have the whatever that is over its emphasis.
Yeah. And then you have Alqualode. Alcolande. Always
These
daughter.
names, man.
The 7 sons of Fëanor were Maedhros the Tall, Maglor the mighty singer, whose voice was heard from far over land and sea, Celegorm the fair, and Canarthir the dark. Caranthir. Curufin the crafty, who inherited most of his father's skill of hand, and the youngest Amrond and Armus, which is a character from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Amras.
Amras. Well, it's pronounced Amras
in what? I don't know.
in Star Trek. Who were the twin
This
brothers?
isn't Star Trek, man.
Yeah. Alike in mood and in face. In later days, they were great hunters in the woods of Middle-earth, and a hunter also was Celegorm, who in Valinor was a friend of Orome, and often followed the Vala's horn. The sons of Fingolfin were Fingon, who was afterwards king of Noldor in the north of the world, Turgon, lord of Gondolin, Gondolin. Their sister was Eredhil, the White. She was younger.
Interesting fact is that DH in Elvish is actually pronounced like a soft TH. So it's like
Adrathil.
Adrathil.
Arathel. She was younger in years of the Eldar than her brothers, and when she was grown to full stature and beauty, she was tall and strong and loved much to ride and hunt in the forests. There she was often in the company of the sons of Fëanor, her kin, but to none was her heart's love given. Arphainil she was called, the White Lady of Noldor, for she was pale, though her hair was dark, and she was never arrayed but in silver and white. The sons of Finarfin were Finrod the Faithful, who was afterwards named Felagund, the Lord of Caves, Orodreth, Angrod, and Angnor.
Ignore.
I'm going to ignore that pronunciation.
That is pretty good.
At least I'm trying. These 4 were as close in friendship with the sons of Fingolfin as though they were all brothers. A sister they had, Galadriel.
Oh, come on.
Galadriel.
Did you not watch
Galadriel?
or read Lord of the Rings?
I did both, but I can't pronounce this name.
Galadriel.
Oh.
Most beautiful of all the daughters of Finwë. Her hair was lit with gold as though it were caught in a mesh, the radiance of Lorelin. Here must be told how the Teleri came at last to the land of Aman. Though a long age they dwelt in Tol Eressëe, but slowly their hearts were changed, and were drawn towards the light that followed out over the sea to the lonely island. They were torn between the love of the music of the waves upon their shore and the desire to see again their kindred and to look upon the splendor of the Valinor. But in the end, desire of the light was stronger. Therefore, Ulmo, submitting to the will of the Valar, sent to them Osse, their friend, and he, that grieving, taught them the craft of shipbuilding. And when their ships were built, he brought them as his parting gift many strong winged swans. Then the swans drew the white ships of the Teleri over the windless sea, and thus at last and latest they came to Aman, the shores of Eldamar. There they dwelt, and if they wished, they could see the light of the trees, and could tread the golden streets of Valamar, and the crystal stairs of Tyrion upon Tuna, the green hill. But most of all, they sailed in their swift ships on the waters of the Bay of Elvenhome, or walked in the waves upon the shores with their hair gleaming in the light beyond the hill. Many jewels the Noldor gave them, opals and diamonds and pale crystals, which they strewed upon the shores and scattered in the pools. Marvelous were the beaches of Elende in those days, and many pearls they won for themselves from the sea, and their halls were of pearls, and of pearl were mansions of Olwe at Alqualonde.
So much.
The heaven of the swans lit with many lamps, for that was their city and the haven of their ships. And those were made in the likeness of the swans, with beaks of gold and eyes of gold, and yet the gate of that harbor was an arc of living rock sea carved, and it lay upon the confines of Eldamar, north of Calakiria, where the light of the stars was bright and clear.
But,
Clean.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. But I guess in conclusion, the lesson is you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a Noldor.
More on that next time.
Oh, God.
See funny jokes.